Welcome to Careers in Accounting. Today we welcome Brendan Conroy. Brendan's an International Tax Director at PwC. Thanks for joining us, Brendan. Appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you, Jeff. Happy to be here.
Okay, so maybe to get started, you want to talk a little bit about what your interest level, how did that start in accounting and drew you into the profession?
Yeah, so I'm a graduate of Tulane Law School. I was looking at opportunities when I was coming out of school. PwC was one of them. I was interested in tax. I was interested in business consulting. And my interview with PwC went great, and the rest is history.
And you started in Boston?
Started in Boston.
Okay. And so talk a little bit about what you were doing there, and then maybe we'll go from there.
Yeah, so I started right away in an international tax specialty. So working with U.S. multinationals doing business abroad and non-U.S. multinationals doing business in the U.S. Variety of clients that do a variety of different things and a variety of objectives and just helping them through situations.
And then you wanted to transfer to St. Louis, correct? And so how did that go?
Yeah, so after about 5 years in Boston, my family decided we want to relocate to St. Louis. So I went to the firm. I asked to see if I could stay with PwC, but move to a different office. And they were nice enough to accommodate my request. I transferred to St. Louis. It was a great move. It turned out to be a big benefit.
Excellent. So one of the things I'd like to explore with you is the stereotype of the profession as being one that is redundant, kind of year over year, task-oriented, just rinse and repeat, so to speak. So I don't get that impression from you as to what you do on a day-to-day basis. But can you talk about how when somebody says that to you about accounting, what does that mean to you, and what happens in your career on a real life basis?
Yeah, because I think first and foremost, PwC is a consulting firm. We're helping businesses with business situations. Tax compliance is out there because everybody has to file a tax return. I'd say that's about 5% of our business. The rest of it goes to strategy. The rest of it goes to maximizing attributes, responding to business situations, right, from a tax perspective, and just helping clients deal with complicated situations.
So I know that can unnerve some people not knowing what they're going to be doing in the near future, but it can be energizing as well, not knowing what you're going to do, what type of transaction, what type of company you're going to be dealing with.
So definitely can be keeps things interesting.
So in that vein, can you talk about maybe a couple interesting projects that you've worked on recently?
Yeah. So a lot of our work is project driven and a lot of it's M&A driven. Companies looking to expand or in some cases sell investments. We have one client that's doing a rapid international expansion. As they're going around, they're in a pretty specialized industry, and so they're acquiring a lot of their competitors, a lot of their smaller competitors in a variety of jurisdictions around the world. And so with each one of those transactions, unique issues come to the table in terms of negotiations, and then getting to a favorable outcome. And so helping this particular client through that expansion process has been very interesting.
And so you're involved from the very beginning when a particular target is identified, you get involved, and then all the way through to closing and then integration of that particular target.
Yeah, that's exactly right. From the objectives of we want to acquire a business, we want to be in this market, we want to have a stronger presence in this market. We've identified a target, we do due diligence, so we understand the target. We understand what business it's doing and what risks come with it, tax and otherwise. How are we going to finance the acquisition? How are we going to get the cash to pay the cash if we are paying cash? Because oftentimes we pay in stock, not necessarily cash. And then how are we going to integrate it into the business that we have?
So it sounds like you're touching many parts of that organization, not just the tax professional that's on the other side at the company. You're dealing with finance, you're dealing with treasury, you're dealing with the legal team, everything. Dealing with the C-suite, all of that.
Exactly right.
Awesome.
Exactly right.
So one of the things that I think is powerful about public accounting is the fact that it's a well-worn path to get started in business, right? The firms have been around for centuries in some form or fashion. And so a young person can get involved in business right off the bat and then get experience in a lot of different areas, different subject matters, different industries, different countries, all kinds of things that you can do. So can you talk a little bit about one of the other features, which is opportunities come your way by virtue of having
Yeah.
that experience. Things that may have come your way, or colleagues that you've seen that something may have attractive have come along during their time at public accounting.
No, definitely, because accounting is a foundational skill set, right? You can build your career on that foundation. And that's why public accounting is a great opportunity, right? And after a year or two in public accounting, the recruiters come, and there's quite a bit of opportunity on the table. I've never taken them up on it, but some of the offers that are out there are pretty interesting once you have a little bit of experience in public accounting. So
Yeah, and it's just because of the market. There's not enough people with those skill sets.
exactly,
Right, at the end of the day.
skill set that's highly valued
Yeah.
in our economy. So
So can you talk a little bit about the challenges that you're seeing with the firms trying to attract people into the profession? And then maybe on the positive spin of that, what that means for a young person that might enter the profession.
no, exactly, because there is a nationwide shortage of CPAs, of young CPAs, and what that is it's an incredible opportunity because the work is there, the firms need it, clients need it, and it's an opportunity for young people. So it's there for the taking.
The
there for the
complexity is never stopping,
Yeah.
right? It never ends.
Getting
it just
worse,
keeps
yeah.
going. And you're dealing on an international scale, so you get to
Yeah.
see it kind of globally, and it just shows no sign of abating, right?
Definitely not. Definitely not. Yep.
Okay. Can you share a little bit about one of the perceptions that I've heard from people around the profession is that it's a boom and bust cycle, that there's busy season and people are working 80 hours a week and they have no time for their personal lives and things like that. So can you just share a little bit about what work-life balance means for you and kind of your team, how it interacts?
Yeah. No, because that term busy season, that doesn't really feel right to use, right? Because the business model is not to burn people out, right? We value our young people in our business. We do not want people to quit because they feel like they're overworked, and so the way that we stay in business is by having a work-life balance, right? Having people be able to grow their career in a way that works for them is pretty important.
And would you agree that the learnings from the pandemic on how to work smarter and more efficiently utilizing technology? I feel like prior to the pandemic, we had conference calls on the phone.
Yeah.
And now everything's video
Yep.
and remote and easy access. And I think the professionals have just adapted and very efficiently. And they get more use of the day and are able to collaborate a little bit better as a team, and that trust factor that brings that. And that allows you to kind of fit in different parts of your life in a given day. You have other responsibilities besides your clients, right?
I have two young daughters who are both in elementary school that quite a bit of time commitment, and the only way it works is with flexibility, right? And you mentioned the pandemic, and that's a great example because it really forced our hand. There was a time when we couldn't all be in the office together, and so it forced us to develop the skills to work collaboratively apart, and we've taken that to the next level in our business, that now it's a part of how we work. And the way that you described it, that you find a way to make it work. At the end of the day, you find a way to make it work. We're at the office at this point roughly 50-60% of the time. If there's time on the weekend when I want to log on and get something done, we have the technology to make that work. The pandemic really forced our hand. It really forced us to incorporate that type of flexibility into our business, and in the long run, it was a benefit.
And everybody works hard, right? You're working in a challenging field. It's in demand. The clients are sometimes under time pressures to get stuff done. But I don't want to put words in your mouth, but you don't feel like you've been worked to the bone or burned out or anything like that, that there's some support and capacity in the system to help you.
Yeah. I feel satisfied at the end of the day, as opposed to burned out.
Okay, so we talked a little bit about technology. I'd like to explore AI with you, and what you feel that may bring or subtract from the profession, but just what are you sensing as to the way things might change when that comes online?
Yeah, I mean, like any technology, it's a benefit, right? If there's a way to use it, it can enhance our business. It's supplemental to our business in the sense that it can't replace the human element. Our role of bringing trust in society, you can't outsource that. You can't outsource that to technology. And so I don't see it as something that'll replace our business, but it is certainly a tool that will enhance what we can do. And our firm's made a number of investments in AI. Uh, One of the areas it really helps is with research,
Hmm.
in the fact that it can do research on complex issues very quickly.
Like research everything that's ever been written.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
it's
In about
pretty
1 second.
powerful
Yeah,
from that perspective. But then
yeah,
there's still that interpretation of that, and
exactly.
then the presentation of that, which is the human element, that just can't be outsourced in
Yeah,
my mind.
100% true. Because at the end of the day, the judgment that goes into decisions can't be replicated.
Yeah.
Right.
And so you do a lot of planning
Yep.
and on the affirmative setting the facts for the future tax implications
Yep.
of transactions. And so that element of creativity, that's
Yeah.
something that can't be outsourced either. A machine is not going to generate that kind of next level idea that's innovative, that's going
Yep.
to solve a particular client's problem.
No, definitely, because the challenges are so multifaceted, right? It doesn't always come down to numbers. It doesn't always come down to impressions. There's qualitative and quantitative considerations
Hmm.
with each problem, right? And AI, as powerful as it is, uh, can't replicate the human decision making process like a human can.
Yeah. And I think what some people miss is it's going to affect every profession,
Yeah,
right? It's not going to draw lines and stop at particular
it's
professions.
true.
So it's going to affect everybody and things. But I like thinking of it like you were saying, like a tool.
Yep,
It's a tool to use, and
great benefit.
it perhaps will be good in the short run because it'll take away things that people didn't really like to do anyway because they may have been the redundant elements of any job,
Yep,
but that can be done by a machine at the
yep,
end of the day.
yeah,
Let's shift gears a little bit and talk about compensation.
yep.
I think that's another area that at least the starting
Very interesting.
salaries
Yeah,
are not optimal in my view from an accounting perspective
yeah,
relative to other business careers that one can start in.
yep,
So I like to think not just in terms of starting salary, but near term compensation. So
yep.
let's say 3 to 5 years after you've been in the profession. My impression is compensation can accelerate rapidly for a top rated individual in that time frame in accounting. But can you maybe share, like, you don't have to give us numbers,
Yeah,
your numbers,
yeah,
but
yeah.
talk about what it's meant like in your career and what you've seen for others that have worked for you and your colleagues. It's just that ramp up in salary in the near
Yeah,
term.
no, absolutely. And I don't remember my starting salary exactly. It wasn't too bad. It wasn't too bad. But like you're saying, it ramps up pretty quick. It ramps up pretty quick. And getting 15%, 20% raises annually feels good. And it makes a difference. It's great when you notice the raise when it hits every year. And so at PwC, it continues to move up in that manner. Starting in about year 1, year 2, by year 5, 6, 7, 8, I mean, it accelerates at a pretty rapid clip.
Yeah.
So,
It's the power of compounding. And
yeah,
I think that's what young people need to think about is you might start somewhere at a higher starting salary, but maybe you have a more muted salary increase in year over year
yep,
than you might in public accounting.
yeah,
Okay, last topic. Any advice for young students besides just focusing and building their technical skills? What
yep,
else should they focus on while their time at WashU?
yeah, definitely. I think the two that come to mind, number one, just soft skills. So public speaking, professional writing, just professional discussions, right? That's it's kind of an underrated but very important part of the business community. Number two, I'd just say technology, right? Just given the rapid changes in technology, it's a part of life.
The
And
younger
so,
people are always going to have an
yeah,
advantage
yeah,
on that,
yeah,
so
yeah. Don't have to
make
tell
sure
them.
you take advantage of that. Your point on the soft skills, I think,
Yeah,
is very important because I think we've all experienced very smart people coming into public accounting,
yep,
and they may just be a little quiet, a little more reserved than others in their start class. And for right or wrong, you might get the impression that there's no input, there's nothing for them to say. And what I try to tell young people is practice that while you're in school.
Yeah.
Be assertive, raise your hand in class, make a point,
Yep.
ask a question, ask a follow-up question for that. And it's just practicing in a very safe environment.
Yeah.
Because when you get in a conference room with more experienced people, everybody's going to be talking because everybody likes to hear themselves talk, but you want to be interactive in that setting. And I think what I'm trying to strive here is to get people to practice that because that's going to be beneficial in their future roles.
And I completely agree that the more you practice, the better you get at it. The more you're used to speaking in a group, the easier it gets.
It's a learned skill.
Yeah.
You can actually do this and get better at it. No one's born. Very few people, I would say, are born doing it very well.
Yeah.
And it does get easier each time you do it.
Yeah. And it is just an important part of our business, right? At the end of the day, it seems silly, but how you communicate your ideas is very important, right? You can have a great idea, and if you don't communicate it to a client, they're not gonna take it in. And so, how you communicate, I think it's an underrated, very important part of part of the consulting.
Yeah, and
profession.
if you apply that to the AI conversation we just had, you would have to think that in the future, most people are going to be able to find the answer, the rule.
Yep.
But it's how does it apply to your facts? How are we going to change our facts in light of that rule? That's the human element and the soft skills that are needed to have that conversation with a very senior executive person that's going to want someone to kind of distill this down and talk to me about what we're going to do now.
It's going to make a $1 billion decision on the basis of your advice.
Exactly.
They don't want.
Exactly.
Got to be sure. Yep.
Well, Brendan, really appreciate you taking the time. This has been very helpful, and thank you for your time.
Yep. Thank you.